Today is the first day I decided to go on a fast because this is the last day, this is the last week that I'm actually at home office, because fasting when you're at your workplace or with your colleagues, it's always you need to explain, why am I doing this, what's the reason for this and all that, and it's a bit of a hassle, but what do you call it now? I'll do this. For some reason I haven't slept tremendously well, so I'm feeling I'm tired. Just eyes don't focus and all that. But what do you call it? I feel like if my previous curve was just going, well, maybe a bit rocky downwards, so that I would always lose something, or there would be a new thing that would come along, and I would never regain it, the capability. For example, running. I have never regained that. I'm unable to run, which is a pity. That I look at people now running, even my own kids, and I'm envious when they gallop along, and it's a longing for me that I would want to join them and do stuff like that, but no possibility. So so I feel that the downward slope, it has kind of stopped, and I've plateaued. There's bad days and there's good days, and I always get a bit depressed when there's bad days, and then there's a few good days and I feel but still the fundamental ailment is still there, and I cannot seem to be able to shake it. So I read some article stating that well, I've got stuff on my website about fasting and how it's beneficial, and how patients like myself have benefited from fasting. And I decided that if I'll take it easy, I've cut off all. I need to do my work. That needs to be done. But I've cut off all, what do you call it? I don't watch TV, I don't read magazines, I don't browse the internet. I've got, let's see if it's open here. This is where I listen. Oh man, this wreaks havoc on this image. So I started from First Moses, and I'm going through it to see, or not to see, but to just listen to it. And faith comes by hearing, and that's why I'm listening to it. But this fast is purely for me to test whether fasting I would regain something, because I don't feel, I'm constantly reminded that I have a serious illness that is hampering with my life. It's making it difficult. But anyway, making these videos is the only kind of electronic amusement that I am getting now. Mitä?
Täällä oli eilen paremmat kepit. Tosta ulkopuolella.
So, dog parks seem to be a theme of mine in my recent videos. But yeah, I'm glad snow came back. In the morning, it was non-existent, the snow, but now it's -5 or minus something, and then I don't know, 2-3 centimeters of snow, but it makes everything look nicer than this. Clearly this now has been a less than good time for me, and I guess that it's to do with, it might be that I haven't moved a lot, or then somehow when starting to move again the illusion has been broken that actually walking, I can do it for maybe 500 meters or so, even though I'll feel horrible. But now when I was in the dog park and I was trying to kind of make a bit quicker moves and stuff like that, it's laboured. It's not nice at all. And one thing that I picked up now, yeah, that's one thing, when you're fasting from TV and your web browsing and stuff like that, you suddenly discover that I've got an absolutely amazing amount of time on my hands, and I don't know what to do with it. So what I'm now doing is picking up this one again. I haven't finished it. I think there's a small bit left still, because it went into conclusions and stuff like that. But then I thought that I might as well finish it off. And then another book that I got from Juhani. Apparently this book has affected a lot of the healing ministries that have been ongoing in the past. When was this published? 1958. No, but when was this first printed? 1924 is the first date that I can find here. And their page here. So, nearly 100 years old book, and pretty much apparently all the healing revivals after that, they've somehow, or the ministers in the healing revivals, they've picked up ideas from this one. I've already read through a couple of passages One of them was a very detailed sermon about the thorn in Paul's side, and how somebody had come up with the idea that it was something called opothelmia. I don't know how to pronounce it. Well, pus coming out of Paul's eyes. And was absolutely convinced that just about the greatest, well, save Jesus, the healer in the New Testament, he had pus coming out of his eyes. Now I've got a tremendous amount of time on my hands, given that I'm extending my fast to include TV, and today is a bad day. It's not a bad day when I sit down and do my work, but it's a bad day when I walk. I first walked to the post office. I had a couple of letters I had to post, and then I walked back and felt horrible already after that. And then I went to the dog park today, and there I felt horrible when I tried to make any sudden moves, and it struggles sometimes. I shall continue my reading. A couple of things that just get me annoyed when I read these books. Not at the book itself, but at the doctors and the shitty care that they provide, at least in Finland, on the public side. So a couple of passages. The risk of family members getting MS can be greatly reduced with adequate sun exposure or vitamin D supplements. None of this has been mentioned. Nobody even when I asked, what about my kids? Well, nah, it's not hereditary. That there's no evidence about it. In this book it says, much more importantly, we now have good data on sunlight and vitamin D preventing MS, and this is now an exciting avenue of disease prevention for relatives of people with MS. Indeed, I feel that all doctors managing people with MS now have a responsibility to advise parents with MS that the evidence is clear that they can greatly reduce the risk of their children getting MS with sun exposure or vitamin D supplements, or both. There is now research underway worldwide examining the magnitude of the benefit in supplements with vitamin D to prevent MS in those at risk, but we already have enough data to know that this will work. And the criminal doctors, neurologists in Finland, they don't mention this. It's all the same to them. They're glad that if they can get another patient that will fork out money, 30,000 euros a year, to take medication that does not work. Everything, not a single study that I've looked into indicates that medication will slow or alter disease progression. So how long does it take to get disabled? All the medications, they're all the same. Might as well chuck your money into the fireplace in your home. Well, at least you'll get some joy of it. As the medications, you'll just get nasty side effects. But yeah, oh man, I get worked up when I read this. I am supplementing my kids with vitamin D. I could be a bit more religious about it, but what do you call it? Siblings So my sisters and brother should be actively chucking down vitamin D or streaking in the sun. Well, maybe a swimsuit, but I was thinking about Pate when I said that, so my brother. And then I realized that, yeah, that wouldn't be so funny with my sister. If somebody in your family has MS, force relatives to make at least vitamin D and sunlight, and then, if possible, low-fat diet. And yeah, I was reading, this is a bit of a summary section in this, and I found the chapter where it talks about having a diary. Keeping a diary. The evidence is pretty clear that writing about difficult experiences can make a big difference to the physical expression of chronic illnesses. It is a simple strategy, but one that can be very liberating. So this video is it's my diary, where I try to list my positive things and uplifting things and things that make me joyous, and then at least try and put into words what are the feelings that are when it really does not feel good. Today has been one of those days that it hasn't felt good. Here now the bit that I refer to often, written by I've read this and I've heard it from multiple different places, but here's the actual text and what it says. The UK National Institute for Health and Clinical Excellence, NICE, has recommended that at this stage there is insufficient evidence of clinical benefit or cost benefit for either interferon or glutiramer to recommend their routine use in the National Health Service. Much of the reluctance to endorse these therapies is that while there is much evidence that they modestly reduce relapse rate, there has been difficulty showing that they have much effect on progression of disability, and that is the key in MS, and they're extremely expensive. So it is quotation from Dr. George Jelinek. So if your neurologist suggests take these drugs, ask them to take it with you. So you share the drug, because I would not put any of those poisons in me, given the the cost of them and the results that they get from them, which are nothing. You don't get any benefit from them. The only one who benefits from them is the shareholders of medical companies. But anyway, I'll continue to read Christ the Healer and Overcoming Multiple Sclerosis, keeping in mind that Jesus is my King in eternity. Not this body, but in a life eternal. Jesus is King.
Asked me back and cursed me with his eye. Spend